In a world that just seems to be spinning faster and faster, I think a lot of us feel this deep, quiet ache, a desire for a family life that isn't just about getting by, but is really, truly thriving. We all have this sense that a strong, beautiful family culture doesn't just happen. It has to be built, deliberately, piece by piece. And today, we're going to look at the blueprint for doing just that, a journey into the principles that can absolutely transform a family. All right, let's start with an idea that might make you pause for a second. It's from the historian Arnold Toynbee, who said, "Nothing fails like success." Now, what on earth does that mean for a family? Well, it means that the very same strategies that might have worked for our parents or their parents, they just aren't enough anymore. The world has shifted under our feet. The challenges our families are up against today they're on a whole different level. And to really get a picture of this new world, just think about this statistic for a moment. The average child in America spends about 7 hours a day watching some kind of screen, but only 5 minutes in meaningful conversation with their father. That's not a criticism, not at all. It's just a snapshot of the storm we are all trying to fly through, a world that is constantly pulling us in a million different directions. And that brings us to a really tough, but man, a really important truth. Just wanting a strong family, it's not going to cut it anymore. Good intentions, as we all know, aren't enough. To face this new reality, we need a new way of thinking, a new set of tools in our toolbox. We need a conscious, deliberate game plan to build the family life we're all dreaming of. So, let's explore those tools. Every great journey, as you know, requires a compass. And for the family, that compass is the very first, the most foundational habit of all, being proactive. It's about making this huge shift from just reacting to everything that happens to us to consciously choosing how we act based on what truly matters. So how do we do that? Well, it all comes down to what we can call the pause button. Just think about it. How many times have you been in the heat of the moment and said something or did something you immediately wished you could take back? Of course, we all have. Being proactive is all about creating a little bit of space between that trigger, the thing that happens, and how we respond. And in that tiny little space, that's where our freedom is. That's where we get to choose to act from our deepest values instead of just our mood of the moment. And we find that pause button by using these 4 incredible gifts that we have as human beings. First, self-awareness. That's our ability to step back and actually see our own behavior. Then there's our conscience, that little inner voice that knows the difference between right and wrong. We've got our imagination, which lets us dream up a better way, a better response. And finally, our independent will. That's the power to actually do it, to take a different action. And this idea leads to a complete reframing of what love is. We're all kind of taught that love is a feeling, right? It's something that just happens to you. But in a proactive family, love is a verb. It's a choice. It's something you do. It's that daily decision to act in a loving way, especially when you don't feel like it. It's all about your actions. Okay, so now we've got our compass, we know how to travel, but where are we going? A journey without a destination it's just aimless wandering. And this is where the second habit comes in, to begin with the end in mind, to get crystal clear together on what kind of family we actually want to become. This is where something like a family mission statement becomes so powerful. And look, this is not just some cheesy poster you hang on the wall. This is what you'd call the first creation. It's the blueprint, right? Before an architect builds a house, they draw up the plans. A mission statement is the plan for your family's culture, created by everyone, defining your shared values and your shared purpose. And to really see the power of this, get this. Imagine a child saying something like this. Imagine your kids having this kind of ownership, this clarity. When a family truly has a mission statement, it becomes its constitution. It's the North Star that guides every decision, big and small, even when mom and dad aren't in the room. It's incredible. All right, so we have our compass and we have our destination. But of course, a family journey isn't a solo trip. We need a flight plan for how we're going to travel together. This is all about mastering the we, those crucial relationships that are the absolute heart of a family. It's where we learn to think win-win. And the best way to think about this is through the metaphor of an emotional bank account. Every single time you interact with a family member, you're either making a deposit or you're making a withdrawal. When the balance is high, there's a ton of trust, there's open communication, there's a real feeling of safety. But when that account is low or even overdrawn, well, that's when you get the tension, the defensiveness, and that awful distance. This means we have to become really conscious investors in our relationships. And the difference here is it's stark. Deposits are things like simple kindness, a genuine apology, offering forgiveness, loving them no matter what. And withdrawals? Well, we all know what those are. Criticism, blame, nagging, giving someone the silent treatment. Our flight plan is really about one simple thing, consistently making way more deposits than we do withdrawals. So, the last piece of this journey is about endurance. It's about the long haul. How do we keep this plane in the air year after year? Well, this is where we learn to put first things first and, crucially, to make time for renewal. Let me tell you a classic story to explain this. I want you to picture your life as this big glass jar. And right now, it's almost totally full of sand and little pebbles. These represent all the urgent, day-to-day stuff, the emails, the errands, the little crises that pop up. Your Ds are just packed. Now, here are your big rocks. These are the things that are truly, deeply important to you. Meaningful time with your partner, one-on-one dates with your kids, your health, your own growth. And you try to cram them into that jar, but there's just no room. The jar is already full. Does that sound familiar? I think it does for most of us. But the solution, well, it's so simple, it's profound. You start over with an empty jar, but this time, you put the big rocks in first. You schedule those most important priorities before your week even starts. And then, what happens? You pour the sand and the pebbles in around them, and like magic, everything fits. The lesson here is absolutely life-changing. If you do not schedule your big rocks first, you will never, ever get to them. But putting those big rocks first, making those deposits, it takes patience. It's a lot like growing a Chinese bamboo tree. You water it, you care for it, and for 4 long years, absolutely nothing happens above the ground. You could easily give up, but if you just keep at it, in that 5th year, it explodes, shooting up 90 feet in just 6 weeks. And growing a family is so often just like that. It takes faith and consistent effort, even when you don't see the results right away. So how do we keep that patient effort going? Well, we do it through the incredible power of family traditions. These are the things that sharpen the saw, as they say. Things like regular family dinners, real, meaningful vacations, special one-on-one time, those holiday celebrations we all remember. See, these aren't just activities, they are rituals. They're rituals that reinforce your mission, that make deposits in those bank accounts, and that create a legacy of shared memories that lasts a lifetime. And that brings us right back to where we started, thinking about what it is we are building. The goal isn't to be a perfect family, there's no such thing. The goal is to be an effective family, one that is proactive, that has a clear destination and knows how to travel that road together. So the final question, the one I want to leave you with, is this. Day by day, choice by choice, what is the legacy your family is creating?